Now, what are the typical IPs in food and nutrition? So, there is lot which is actually happening in food and nutrition industry right now, and industry of course may be just very small part of it, because even at the individual level there are a lot which people are doing. Now, just broadly to say that what all can be basically written under an IP is starting from the copyright, wherein the creative or the original artwork which defines your packaging, anything which is to anything which is to do with the packaging, or even the architect of your product, which comes as an ornamental design or a utility design, is called as industrial design. Trade secret is when you try to basically keep the ingredients or the recipe of something as confidential. You can do under a trade secret. A utility model, again, of course, the example here given is bendable straw, but there are so many different examples for, say, food technology equipments, or the normal kitchen cleaning or the kitchen utility experience, that will come under utility model. And last is the trademark, which is to do with the name and symbol of the restaurant. Now, before we move on to the specifics, I want to actually just take 5 minutes to explain the facts and figures. So, the first and foremost thing is, there was a survey which was actually taken up by the Canada government, and they tried to basically check that how many percentage of people, or how many people they're actually aware of the different broad categories of IP. Now you'll see the awareness is very high, but translating that awareness into a use is extremely low. Okay, so people definitely are aware of it, but whether they are practicing it, it's something very low. And I'm talking about Canada, which of course is a still developed country, wherein there's a there's a lot happening in terms of innovation in India, innovation there. But when it comes to India, we are far lesser than there. Now, the other thing to notice is the most filed IP categories and places. This is the data which actually identified that which are the top companies who are filing patents in 21. Now, if you see the colorful bubbles, the blue one is for technology, the green one is for consumer, the orange one is for industrial, and the red one is for healthcare. Now, one thing to notice is where nutrition or food might fall in, it is basically maybe consumer or healthcare, and you will hardly see the contribution of the patents which are filed in this category. Okay. The second and foremost thing is, even in there, two-thirds of the patents filings activity which are happening worldwide, they are actually happening in Asia. So almost say 67% of people from Asian countries in 2021 they have filed. So then the good news is that you do not have enough competition. In fact, you do not have a competition. Basically, try and reserve, or maybe once you're informed enough, you can very well go ahead and decide to file a patent for you. Okay. Moving on to the definition, that under the food patent, what it actually means. So first and foremost thing is, a food patent is a type of utility patent. Utility patent means something that covers edible products and food related processes and composition. Okay. Food patents really can be lucrative, and as a part of my industry experience, I see there's a lot which is happening. There are companies who are actually filing at least 250 patents every year, and the success rate is also very high, because there's a lot as a startups being doing. Now, somebody who has invented a new recipe and which has a significant appeal should try to apply for a patent. And I, in the later slides, would also explain what will a new recipe or a significant appeal mean. Now, you are working on recipes, maybe at your home or maybe in the function, but it doesn't mean that everything is patentable. So, whenever you think or whenever you decide to file for a patent, there are there are four thumb rules that you basically must answer. First is, it should contain a patentable subject matter. So, what will a patentable subject matter is the expertise, the knowledge, the basics of nutrition knowledge you should have. Second is, of course, it has to be a novel, it has to be new. The third one is, it should not be very obvious. It should not be known to the world, and it has to be useful. So whenever you are working on something, if you have answers or to all of these questions as yes, you are bang on to file your patent. Now, some real time life examples, and you'll be surprised because when I was working on this presentation, even I was surprised. The most simple patent, peanut butter. Okay. Now, if you look at the description of the peanut butter, the finished product was simply made by roasting peanuts between the two heated surfaces, and the genesis happened because some people were not able to chew, or they had a difficulty in chewing solid food. The description which is given in the patent, as it reads, it's essentially different from other nut butters in that character of the oil content is under absolute control. Now, if you look at the language, of course, this is a language of a food technologist or somebody who has a basic nutrition, which means if you do not know the basics of nutrition, you will not be able to do it. Okay. And then you have to identify the usage. The usage was that somebody saw that somebody had a difficulty in chewing solid foods, and the idea came. And it's very old. I think it was there in 1909. So it has been, at that point of time, nobody would have imagined. The second is cornflakes. Who would have imagined that just flake cereals or preparing the same by just variety of grains, it will actually lead to a patent. And it is nothing but a description of the purpose of the food science. So it says readily digestible, doesn't require any cooking or heating, which is a high nutritive value, should be liked by taste, and it could be affordable for people who are sick and convalescent. So imagine the simplicity. So simple is the new norm, I say. The third and foremost thing is, all of you, I'm assuming, would be liking French fries. The patent which they got is in frozen French fried food. And the only simple reason it got birth to is because McDonald's was available in many countries, but they were not able to have a unanimous approach in as the potato being the color, texture, and also different countries will be having different texture of the potatoes. So they wanted to have a common benchmark, and hence they had have a patent which is on not just on the method of preparation, but the degree of uniformity and the raw potatoes available which they were made. Now, some of the other examples in food science is my butter stick was actually invented by a grade 9 student who actually was facing difficulty in the morning when they were running to school. The butter was basically spreading it, taking it out from the fridge. So it simply gave him gave him an idea that can we have a push-up or a margining stick dispenser for which he was able to get a patent. The second, and this one is from India, bitterless quinoa juice. So all the juices which are high in vitamin C, you know that the moment it comes out, when it is exposed to air, it has a biological reaction, and it gives a bitter taste. And and this is from patent on the physical or the physiochemical properties which were actually curative in nature, and which actually helped to delay the bitterness after the juice was extracted. And they have also given the steps. So when you look at the step, washing, chilling the washed quinoa fruits, peeling, extracting the juice, conventional steps of pasteurization, these are all simple steps that actually being done in kitchen. Okay. The third example basically is instant yogurt, and this is dry milk powder, which can be converted into yogurt, which will have simple taste, so as compared to a natural yogurt. Now, if you see these examples, do you really think that food have actually a complex mind or some ordinary mind to create such inventions? Some examples in the food technology is anything which you're working as a part of the food processing, which is going to confer any benefits. Like, for an example, increasing availability. So, increasing availability could be as simple as creating of ARF, amylase rich flour. So the process of basically malting, drying, extraction, which is increasing the iron and the zinc availability, is definitely imparting benefits. So any of the processing techniques which you can actually modify it as a useful step, which has of course not been obvious, you can definitely convert it into a patent. Now, technology equipments. All of the generally used equipments which are based on model technology or modifications and is helping you to create a high efficiency rate can actually earn a patent. And the most simple example is there's a company which is Moha, which has invented a flexible strainer that will automatically adapt to pans from diameter 18 to 24 centimeter. So these are very simple examples. I have not even gone to see the complex examples which you see have garnered patents. Now, I am going to address some of the questions on food patents, which I think are very relevant to you in few slides later, because I wanted to cover a few things which may be of interest right now. Uh, I'll just pause for a minute and I'll just request Rachna ma'am, if this is too much, then I can also go a bit faster.
Nene, it's really interesting, and please take your speed, Barkha.
Okay. Okay, so then comes the examples of trademarks, and these are real life examples. The first is logos or food manufacturers. I am sure the moment you see the logo of Amul, or for that matter, Amul milk, nobody, even a person who is not literate enough, will identify that it is from the house of Amul. Similarly, Haldiram, Parle Ji. So in a way, these are all brand identity, and these are of course the known ones. And by the way, this just requires your artistic skills. You can even create artistic logo, and you can also sell these proposition to company. And if you remember the rupee symbol that we have, that we know today in India, that has actually come exactly as a slave, wherein the government invited the artistic skills of people to design it, and then they got selected. Okay. The second example is the bottle design. Now, Coca-Cola bottle design, even without any text or branding, was actually done under trademark by a Japanese company, because it was first of its kind. Okay, the bottle that we know today. The interesting one is this: the chocolate. You won't imagine what they actually had got a trademark is, just for the specific purple color. Okay, so just broaden your horizon, and you can see, I mean, anything and everything can be basically patented. Now the obvious question comes then: can you trademark food? No, you cannot trademark a food, because they do not represent a brand. But creativity, artistic thing that you can imply. So the first example is the bottle design. is broccolini. Now, broccolini is basically the hybrid of broccoli and Chinese kale. There was a company which was in Japan, and they had actually done this hybrid. It was because of its sensorial characteristics. It was actually a very hit, and then a man produced company, after 10 years of usage of this broccolini in Japan, they actually trademarked this product. So while it is a food, but it's actually a hybrid food which the company created, and they have been able to have a trademark. Now, slogans. Who would not know the slogans? So Subway, eat fresh. Nestle, good food, good life. So you can also basically craft some catchy slogans. And if you feel that it's really, really very good, you can go ahead and sell that idea to even government, or for that matter. The most common one that we experience in our daily lives is to do with geographical identity. Agre ka petha, Kota ki kachori. So these are all trademarks because they have a geographical identity. And of course, the moment you hear about petha, the first thing that comes to your mind is it has to be Agre ka petha. And very, very interesting thing is that there was a video which actually got viral for this Turkish chef. He's called as Salt Bay, and I will just run a very small video.
Like salt off his elbow onto meat in a way that some say is sensual.
Now, can you imagine what trademark he would have got off? He actually got, he succeeded in registering a trademark of a video of him sprinkling salt over meat. So the part of cooking, which is the most commonest thing, he was actually able to register that as a trademark. So isn't it that interesting? Okay, some examples on the design part. Okay, chocolate, Toblerone. So it's a very simple wherein the design of the chocolate, because you can easily cut it or break it, and then you can have pieces to it. So this was a design on the food product. Ice cream cones, on the type of the cones, and most of the times these of course are edible. Oreo cookie. So Oreo cookie is world's #1 cookie, which of course is made by Mondelez. And the moment you see any cookie which has that texture, you will realize that it's Oreo. Very recently, Parle, under their brand name Fabio, has actually copied this, and in fact, Oreo has filed a legal suit on the infringement of the design of the cookie. So, cookie design itself is something which they were able to have a design patent, design right to. And an interesting one, this cake was actually copyright. I think when you had seen this third slides, you saw that copyright is only applicable to basically music, art, and sound. So can a recipe be copyrighted? So for that, you need to understand what is a recipe. So recipe is essentially a list of ingredients, a process, or a set direction that is to you of how those ingredients are to be used, and it can actually result into a culinary dish. Now, the copyright compendium, which is given by US and also followed in India, they say that just mere listing of the ingredients or its content is not copyrightable. A simple set of instructions is not eligible for copyright protection. Okay, so quite clearly, neither of the two components of a recipe is are copyrightable. But what you can do is you can actually opt to protect a recipe as a trade secret. So what will be a trade secret? So trade secret is nothing that there are certain famous food recipes of wherein companies actually protect their creations and take trade secret. Now, what will a trade secret allow is it actually allows the creator not to disclose the ingredients and the process of creating it, just the way Coca-Cola is doing. So the famous Coca-Cola drink that you know, it has actually a secret formula for beverages, and they did not wanted to disclose to the public of how to make their product. Now the obvious question comes is why not patent? So if you look at the patent disclosures, because the patents are available in the general domain, and it has to clearly explain all the steps that you're actually using to create that particular product. It's open to public, and anybody, even the startups actually can follow and make a better version of it. So you technically are not having any legal right. Okay, so in those cases I think trade secrets are basically a good option. Now I have to actually wait and just share this very inspirational 3-minute video, and I think you should see it because it very essentially captures the spirit of innovations, and how simply it can be done. I'll just run it for a second and just let me know if you're able to hear the audio as well.
I ordered for idli sam.
Is the audio audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, but
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Okay.
And the spoon is put in it. So as he was putting the spoon, I grabbed it from his hand, I ran my thumb on it, it was greasy. I took a sniff of it, it was already smelling of sambar. It's been reused. We know plastic has got so many chemical complexes in it, phthalates, chelates, bisphenols. These cause cancer, these leach into food, they don't biodegrade, but still we're using a whole lot of plastic disposable cutlery. Why are we doing this? Answer obviously is there is no alternative. Oh well, we have an alternative now. We come up with an alternative, and that is edible cutlery. Here there is no coating. In fact, it is entirely nutritious. You can eat up the spoon. Delicious. It is made of jowar blended with rice and wheat without preservatives, just like dehydrated vegetables. Our product also has a very long shelf life of more than 3 years. In fact, you can even have your hot soup also. You can stir your sugar and have your tea. You can eat it up. You don't want to eat it, you can just throw it. It decomposes within 4 to 5 days.
विश्वास नहीं हुआ, पहले बार देखे तो लकड़ी समझी मैं, मगर गांव में स्टार्ट होके काम शुरू किया बाद साग में डाल के अपन खाए, बहुत टेस्टी रहता मैडम। आपने कभी खाने के चम्मच के बारे में सुना है? आपको एक सैंपल देती हूँ। आप अगर स्पून को काटेंगे तो स्पून का फ्लेवर आएगा आपको। इसमें जीरा, अजवाइन, रॉक सॉल्ट, ब्लैक पेपर मिलाते हैं और इसको बेक करते हैं। तो आप जब स्पून खाते हैं तो सिर्फ स्पून नहीं खा रहे, आप एक ज्वार रोटी खा रहे हैं।
When it comes to financing this, I had to put the only asset that I have, which is the flat where I'm residing, as a collateral security. And then got the loan because there's no such technology. We are the first in the world. The technology had to be created. I brought in this edible cutlery and trying to promote a market for millets and motivate farmers to move away from rice. Plastic is very cheap. True. But I can make it as cheap. I can. With volumes. And once when I get the volumes, I get onto the farmers directly and start procuring raw materials directly from the farmers, in which case my spoons will be as cheap as the plastic spoons. So now the cutlery is tasty, fun, nutritious, and environment friendly. That's edible cutlery.
I think when you see this, of course, there are so many elements that come to your mind. But to notice one thing is basically that a simple problem giving idea to a simple solution is also not just good for yourself, but also good for the planet and also good for the society. So that's the level of innovation that you always have to crave for. And I wouldn't say that any idea is basically idiotic. I think any idea could be giving birth to a very major innovation. Unfortunately, this guy could not get a patent. And now you see, if you just go to the Google website, you'll see there are so many international companies who are claiming that they have got a patent, and it's actually being drawn from India itself. Okay, so that was an example that I really wanted to share. Now, can you patent a food idea? No, you cannot patent a food idea because the patent office does not issue patents for a mere idea. But you can actually patent a unique recipe for a food or a process of making a food. Now, I will be talking more about patenting a food option as compared to a trademark or a design or copyright, because of obviously in the educational expertise that you're currently in, there's a lot that you can actually experiment in the nutrition sciences kitchen of IT college. Okay, so you don't need to actually go out and look for that. Okay, you do not have a manufacturing setup, you do not have basically a place to start off. You can very well basically try and experiment this in the labs itself. Okay, so what sort of foods would have actually earned food patents? I think mostly patents which are involved in improving the process and the products, they have been able to earn a food patent, and there have been a lot. So for some examples is just altering the shape, wherein you can changing the physical appearance. I think the most obvious example is the McCann Foods. So who would have known that the smiley potato cutlets actually will be patented? Creating a combination. So for an example, you're creating certain combination of flavors, which is very unique. So the example that's given here is storage of a peanut butter or jelly in the same container. Flavor. You can earn a patent wherein you're trying to improve a flavor. However, it's very hard to prove because taste and flavor is something that no two people can actually agree on, but still you have an opportunity. Texture, some of the batters or dough, they look differently depending upon the ingredients. There are food patents which are being given to exchange ingredients and make food tastier, okay, or give a better texture. Shelf life increase. How do you actually extend the storage duration of a product that it is kept fresh? Making foods healthier. If you're trying to make the calorie content of the total food, or you might have heard about a lot about plant-based meat, which is wherein vegans also could eat it if they're not eating non-veg food, and something which is basically easier to cook. If it is possible to cook something which is in a microwave rather than taking the entire 4-5 steps. So these are certain of areas wherein actually you can try to earn food patents. And so what are the best ways to earn a food patent? So basis my exploration, I think there are 4 categories wherein you can put in. First is you have to find a sweet spot in the manufacturing process. So there is an established manufacturing process. You find a new condition or a product that you can innovate. So there's this company which is making a product which is called as Choco Heaven. Now they were cooking this chocolate in a very normal way, wherein somebody actually set the oven temperature wrong. Now what they saw was that the flavor, the delicious flavor of the chocolate was actually with less fat. So they have gone ahead and just filed a patent of that. The second thing is a new use for a known product or process. So you know that microwave, of course, is basically used for, say, doing microwaving, burning any things. But can you also find a secondary purpose of that established process? So the example here I'm trying to give you is a recipe that you know can prove headaches in addition to providing you some other medicinal benefit. So you can definitely try. And I think our ancient food examples are filled with those sort of combinations. So the garam masala that we add, if you go to the ancient Ayurveda books, you will find each and every component of that garam masala will have an example or will have that benefit. The third is synergy. Can there be a combination? It could be really a very unusual combination of unrelated ingredients that can have a shocking result. So somebody tried putting a banana in the soup that actually created such a food craze that it became a hit. And of course, there was a synergy with two contradicting ingredients. Last but not the least is make something counterintuitive, which means that prove that nobody else could think of that idea. It could be even weird and unexpected, like the popcorn that you know can be microwaved. They actually were made not because they were experimenting how can popcorn be made. They were actually experimenting how does the magnetron of the microwave moves. So imagine the accidental food patents had it resulted. Okay, which are the most patentable food categories? First and foremost thing is food combinations. Okay, if you can establish that it can promote healthier eating, or if not more, at least at par with it, you can actually earn a food composition, and this is more desirable than similar food and recipes. And just an optimistic news is government of India, under their Make in India program, Skill Youth, they are actually encouraging a lot on the smaller setups, or even at a small scale industries who are making food, to try this, because the combinations and the kind of variety we have in India in terms of foods is huge. New foods and special diets. I think vegan and gluten-free diets have become very part. It used to be once more for international base population, but how can you actually make something of this? Like, for example, vegan people don't eat eggs. Okay, now many recipes they require egg, so you will have to find a viable substitute which can actually earn patent. It is just not satisfying the need, but also a plant-based meats, of course, is an example. Now, this is an interesting one: food-based software apps. Trust me, after the introduction or after the promotion of the Digital India campaign, this is the most easiest one. What you simply need to do is, everybody has a smartphone. Okay, you can actually show regular people how you make, cook better meals. A person and how do you apply the software, and how can you actually add a device communication into an existing app. So for an example, an inventor could make a toaster that person activates with a smartphone. Okay, innovations on existing kitchen inventions. Example here is, people have limited counter space in kitchen. They leave more devices which are appliances which are smaller. So for an example, inventor could create a toaster that's roughly the same size as a slice of a bread and has utility. So it's just not space saving, but also some utility. New brewing recipes and ingredients. So crafts beers who actually use scientific industrial methods to develop new flavors, they actually encourage people that how can you have a flavorful beer to patent it. So very odd example is nowadays, because children do not like the taste of milk, or for that matter children want to have milk in a very different way, but they also like cola. Can we have health food drinks in a form of a carbonated way? So that's another example. And by the way, beverages in current scenario has a huge tremendous value in the marketplace. Okay, just last one, what do patent experts in India say? So experts in India, they believe that the process patent claims, they actually have a better acceptance rate than the composition claims, because food patents, while there are too many food patents coming up, but it's slightly tricky, which means that the process of making an item can be more easily patented than the composition itself. And a very simple example is recently in India, there was a patent application accepted just to make up a process of soy curd. And if you look at the process, selecting soya beans, soaking soya bean, grinding, making the curd, and finally processing, do you think it's not something that you might have not done with the same process, maybe in a form of a making yogurt? So I think that's the most simplest process application, a process patent that India as could have basically given. Okay, yeah. So this is all from my end, and I am hoping that this has not been too much. But yeah, if you have still any questions, just please let me know.
This session is open for questions, and please, students, please unmute yourself and ask questions. Please unmute yourselves and ask questions.
MSc final. Any questions from your side?
Hello. Good morning, ma'am.
Hi.
My name is Tanya. My first question is who grants a patent, and what is the procedure to apply for a patent?
So, of course, there are patent offices, India patent offices, and there will be state branches to it. You can approach them via the online process. Now, there is a whole step which is involved to a process of patent, which I have not covered because that would take basically another session. But it's very well explained on the India Patent Office's website. I can always share the link with you guys.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Barka, one help I need. Actually, girls, as you know, our student also pursuing next semester food product development. So my main motive of this workshop is that they should know that whatever they develop, whatever they are doing in the lab, they can go with further processing and they can file the patents and they can name themselves. Na? So
yes,
any suggestions to all these students who are doing it? It's a part of their curriculum, but they are just leaving it and not doing it, not taking it to further action.
Okay, I think first is we actually do not record ourselves. When I say record ourselves is whatever you try to develop, don't consider that as a formal step to getting your thesis, okay, or for that matter your report. As an MSc, this is the first step that you actually should go ahead and try to make it in a form of a document which could be used as a publication or a report itself. Now, once you have that report, please read it twice or thrice to identify an idea. Okay. Now, when you have the idea, you will also get to know the intent. Okay. Don't consider that किसी ने बनाया होगा or somebody would have already used that. You can actually take that document and maybe basically then file it over. There is a whole template which is given on the patent when you file a patent. Unfortunately, even to know that whether this idea would work or not is a very time taking process. So filing a patent is a very time taking process, and a turnaround time is also very high. So but when you try to basically enter it, there has been instances that it can be just accepted as it is. Okay. So I think, in my opinion, use the processes that you are basically following. If not, if you have not been able to do something with that itself instantly, try to just publish it.
Any more questions from the students? Ma'am, there is a question. Why IPR is important in health sector?
Oh, okay. So after the onset of COVID, okay, there has been a huge realization, not just in countries who are developing, but also in the developed countries, because we have seen organizations like WHO and CDC falling. Okay. Now, organizations cannot, or they can only take a small part of it, because they will have a much defined roots. Okay. Second thing is healthcare. The importance of healthcare itself has increased. But when I was trying to show that chart, you had seen there's only one company, Johnson and Johnson, who's trying to file patent. It could be two reasons. Again, is people know that there is an IPR opportunity, but people are not filing it. Okay. The second thing is, you think that the invention or discovery is too obvious, that it is definitely used by somewhere. So for an example, I think I'll take an example of the mask. Okay.
Yeah.
There is an artist who is actually creating mask which looks like your half face. So has he thought of this, that okay, masks are already made, what is the invention of it? He would have not been able to create that face, and he has a market. Similarly, matching masks of your saris or bridal outfit. Okay. So even if there is an established utility, there's not enough usage. So I would say that it's time that, and nutrition is a very important part. It used to be one of the important things of healthcare, but I think nowadays nutrition drives healthcare, because we are highly into preventive space as opposed to the therapeutic space. So nowadays we think more that we should actually eat something which is helping us to prevent not falling sick, rather than I had already fallen sick and now eating this. So I think if you can combine your intellect, have a legal right of that intellect, and world is able to use it for normal good, why not? And trust me, not to generalize it, you have the most productive and the viable brain in terms of idea generation right now, because you are young. Okay. The more and more you age, of course, your brain will age, unless and until you're not putting your brain at work. So I think you guys are in the best place to try and experiment as much as you can.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you for such an enriching session. I now invite Dr. Rachna Mishra, Chairperson of IPR Cell, for the vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, and on behalf of
Ma'am,
IT College.
I was going to say no vote of thanks. It's just that you can always give your comments it is still subjected to improvisation and just your wisdom. There's no word thanks that is applicable here.
Nani, of course, Barkha, I know, but of course, the student must know that you are precious to us. It's not because we are associated, our association is so long. You are, I think, my second batch of my teaching career, actually. Na? I think you are my second batch. Na?
Yes.
So I started my teaching career with you. And because with Barkha, there is, I think, you pioneered so many things in department. You are the first one who pursued PhD in KGMU. I think you opened the door of PhD in medical college, and now you are the first one who did degree from KGMC. Now a lot of girls are going and pursuing their PhD from KGMC. So you pioneered that one course. Then another aspect, I think you are the first one who entered in the industry. Actually, after you, Agatha has entered. So you pioneered in so many things. So I think you are one of inspiration for our students. So I'm really emotional because
the feeling is mutual, ma'am.
Of course, I'm very emotional to see you here actually. So, but of course, you took out time from your busy schedule and inspired and enlightened our students. And of course, your ideas and simple explanation. Of course, girls can use these ideas in critically and these new opportunities in their nutrition research and nutrition products. So, of course, my wholehearted thanks to you, Barkha, because you just took this opportunity and ready just after my one call. So, of course, you are very special to me and, of course, to the entire IT college family. So, it's, of course, formal thanks. But I'm also thankful to our principal for her support and stimulation to organize such event, because she was constantly encouraging and asking me to call someone to motivate girls for this thing. So, and of course, I would like to thank our president, ma'am, Dr. for her blessings, and my special thanks or special mention to our team, Dr. Caroline, for anchoring the whole event, Dr. Anuja Barla and Mr. Alex, who worked behind the scene. And last not the least, of course, my thanks are due to my participants who were there and attended event. So, Barkha, I will be in touch with you, and of course, we will continue with other lectures and other events with you in future.
Thank you so much, ma'am, and I'm really humbled. And just one thing which is only with my small years of experiences, I think in your current education or setup, I can tell you are getting empowered minds. Okay, as in females, you move when you step out of the college as an empowered minds. I can tell you that nobody can actually challenge you. And I have been in a group of people, as ma'am was saying. I was first non-medical student to India's first medical university. So sitting between the group of doctors or doctors' mind, and second is when I entered the industry, there has been people who have actually had education from the best of the colleges in India and also globe. But with that empowered mind that I have garnered in this institute has actually given me a confidence not to step back by just people. So I can only say that with the empowered mind, you can actually achieve anything and everything you want. And just not to basically record this, ma'am is there. I was not an intelligent student, but I have been a hardworking and a sincere student. So I was just a very mediocre student, but blessed enough with the guidance of teachers, relatives, friends, and all. That I could actually do little whatever I can, and I'm here to basically contribute to whichever way I can.
Thank you, Barkha. Thank you so much.